The question is that the House take note of the petition. I call the member for Coogee.
Thank you, Speaker. And I rise today to speak to the petition that has been tabled and brought forward here today. And I want to thank the Sydney Dive Rec Organisation Committee for getting this petition together, especially considering the significant community support for this proposal, not just in my electorate or in the electorate of Coogee, but across Sydney. And the Sydney Dive Rec Organising Committee are amazing, and we need to pay tribute to how all of their dedication and work that they have been doing over a long period of time. And this is a committee who has developed a strong presence in our community by attending local events, hosting information market stalls, talking to locals down the beach, lobbying local councils all across the eastern suburbs. And they've been doing this to advocate for this rec and this project. And they've reached out to all relevant community groups and stakeholder groups, even those that didn't support the idea initially, and listened to their views and worked collaboratively in the name of local community. Now, while the committee was started while the previous member, Bruce Notley-Smith, was in office, it has been a joy working with them and watching them advance this idea at a local and state and federal level. And this speaks to the fact, Mr. Speaker, that our local community is passionate about expanding opportunities to develop outdoor lifestyle activities that boost local tourism, that seek new adventures in the backyard, but most importantly, Mr. Speaker, that do this in harmony with the environment by supporting artificial reefs and growing fish habitats. And this is an important message for the government to hear as we explore innovative and holistic policy approaches to conservation and economic growth at a community and statewide level. And that goes to the nature of the fact that this is a good idea. I think it's a great idea, and an idea that I fully support. However, we do need to put this within the financial realities of the state budget as they were left to us by the former Liberal government, which means that difficult decisions are being made right now. Now, this is not to say that New South Wales Labor is walking away from the principles that are at the heart of this idea: ecological rehabilitation, environmental sustainability, restoring and championing our waterways. And that is why I'm also proud to be part of a government who's announced that our latest round of flagship grant programs worth up to $400,000 per project that will see local coastal waterways flourish. And this will ensure functional fish habitats and happy native fishes all along the coast of New South Wales. Now, happy fish. I've actually been bitten by an angry fish, so I hope that there are more happy fish. Now, the proposal that is being put forward has considerable community support because it combines local tourism with ecological rehabilitation and environmental sustainability. And that is a value that the New South Wales Labor government wholeheartedly supports. And at a local level, this is reflected in the fact that one of the first election commitments that we've been delivering is around addressing Coogee stormwater. Now, in addition to our commitment to waterways rehabilitation, fish habitat restoration and improving of water quality for humans and marine life, New South Wales Labor and the government is committed to environmental conservation and protections of all kind, from a local level to the establishment of national koala parks. And it goes without question that each of these initiatives will see a significant economic return through climate change mitigation and improvements of local tourism and interstate tourism. A policy agenda such as these not only proves that economic development and environmental sustainability can go hand in hand, and this is what our communities want. And it is precisely this type of development, tourism and outside sale that people of New South Wales want, which is why they elected us. Now, however, while considering the issues of ecological rehabilitation and environmental sustainability, the context of local tourism, it is essential that we can deliver projects that are cost-effective and cost-efficient, so that we can also be ensuring that we are delivering affordable housing, new schools, hospital upgrades that can be support to build our growth and programs. I want to thank the group again for tabling this. The message is clear. Our community wants us to invest in tourism and economic growth that is embedded with environmental conservation. We hear you.
The question is that the House take note of the petition. I call the member for Vaucluse.
Thank you, Speaker, and I thank the member for Coogee for bringing this petition to the House, for her enthusiasm for the project and her commitment to the local divers. We have spoken about this proposal together, and I share the member for Coogee's enthusiasm for this project. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Sam Baxter, President of the Gordons Bay Scuba Diving Club, the proponents of this proposal, and I'm in principle supportive of this exciting plan and recognise that as a sustainable and eco-conscious tourism venture, this project has the potential to boost local and international tourism while also benefiting local marine life and supporting scientific innovation. There's so much to be gained from this. The aim of the Gordons Bay Scuba Club is to scuttle an ex-Navy vessel 4 kilometres off the Coogee coastline, and under this plan it's hoped that the federal government would provide for and bear the cost of sinking the decommissioned Navy vessel, and that the state government bear the costs of managing the dive wreck. Sam has told me this proposal would provide additional recreational benefits to the community who use our marine estate, provide significant environmental benefits by creating a new habitat for marine life, help drive increased revenue for New South Wales through tourism for the dive industry, and provides a new marine research site. And I do note the member for Coogee said we are in tough budgetary climate. I would obviously reject the assertion that that was left by the former government, but I would say what we did well as a former government was invest in recreation and the economic benefits of tourism, and I think we should be looking closely at this project for those reasons. There are benefits which will return financially, as well as for the environment and as well as for people's well-being. We love the ocean. And there are similar precedents around Australia, including at Avoca Beach, where HMAS Adelaide was sunk in 2011. Previously, the federal government also made 2 ships available as dive wrecks, the ex-HMAS Sydney, which was scrapped in Fremantle, WA, at a cost of $2.75 million, and the ex-HMAS Tobruk, which was sunk in 2018 off the coast of Bundaberg, Queensland, by the Queensland State Government at a cost of $10 million. Mr Deputy Speaker, since 1984, more than 159 ships and aircraft have been sunk worldwide as dive wrecks. In Australia, 7 ex-Navy and 3 pirate ships have been sunk as dive wrecks too, and with an estimated economic benefit of $30 million per annum, and that's where I talk again about the benefits to our state. As the proposed location for the site, as set out in the club's business plan, very little scuba diving actually occurs at the proposed location because of the sandy seafloor, and that of course supports very little marine life. However, a sandy sea floor, very tough to say, offers a perfect environment in which to sink a dive wreck. And additionally, the site is adjacent to 5-star rated dive sites at Wedding Cake Island, the Magic Point Grey Nurse Sanctuary, and Shark Point, Clovelly, New South Wales. As a keen scuba diver myself, and I'll admit, Mr Speaker, I haven't taken a dip for a few years with the equipment on, but I'm very determined to do that this summer. And I have to say, I haven't been courageous enough to dive on a wreck. But if the state government were to invest in this exciting project, I would commit to the training, I would overcome my fears, and I would gladly be one of the first to dive on this wreck, because I think it's... I'm not afraid of sharks, but I'm worried about the technical expertise, but I can overcome that. Look, other divers tell me that some of the wonderful benefits of diving on a wreck is because of this sense of history that you have on the dive, combined with a beautiful marine life and you know, the technical expertise that it does take to do this. And I know that this proposal would provide an exciting new opportunity for divers on our coastline. I would be very keen to see the advancement of discussions, including with stakeholder groups, and I look forward to learning more about the state government's response to this proposal.
The question is that the House take note of the petition. I call the member for the entrance.
Thanks, Speaker. Speaker, let me thank the petitioners and Dr. Marjorie O'Neill, the member for Coogee, for bringing this petition to the House. It's a huge effort to get 20,000 signatures. Is it 20,000? 10,000. It was a paper petition. It's a huge effort, either way. And I want to congratulate the petitioners, the Sydney Dive Rec Organising Committee and the Gordon Bay Scuba Diving Club for their advocacy in their community and the effort they've put into garnering those signatures and putting this petition through their local member to the House today for our consideration. It's really important that communities have the mechanism provided by Parliament's petition system to raise in the forum of Parliament issues that are important to the community and to the people of this state, and to have those issues addressed directly by the government in this House. It's really, really important for the community, and it's a great feature of our democracy in the state of New South Wales. The petitioners are asking for an ex-Navy ship to be scuttled off the Sydney coastline for the purposes of providing an artificial reef and also a scuba diving attraction. Now, on the Central Coast and where my electorate is located, we already have been through this process, and I will say to the petitioners that it is a worthwhile process. The outcomes we've seen on the Central Coast have suggested that there are many benefits to having an artificial reef and a diving area located off the coast. There are many benefits to be obtained from undertaking the construction of an artificial reef using an ex-Navy ship in a controlled manner. It improves the safety of access to dive wrecks, which the diving community will naturally be attracted to. It ensures that when the dive wreck artificial reef is constructed, it's done so in the most environmentally sensitive way. The contaminants on the ship are cleaned out. An assessment is made of the structure to ensure that if it is placed on the ocean's floor for diving, that there is low risk of diver injuries as a result of diving on that structure. And the reports we have of assessments of the performance of the dive structure and artificial reef after it was constructed on the Central Coast are that many divers, 3,000 a year, attend the HMAS Adelaide, sunk off 1.8 kilometres off of Oka Beach on the Central Coast. That's a huge boost to local tourism. They will stay on the Central Coast and spend money on the Central Coast. But also the dive wreck has become a habitat for marine life. The dive wreck slowly turns into a place where marine life grows. There's a particular soft coral which has taken hold on the dive wreck on the Central Coast, and that is a particularly important species which was dying off in other areas, and cuttings from that coral have been used to repopulate other areas. So there's a whole bunch of benefits there. What should the petitioners do now? Well, they're doing the right thing, bringing it to the attention of the state parliament, but they need to keep working with their local member. And if they keep electing the member for Coogee, Dr. Marjorie O'Neill, I think they'll be on the right path to achieving what they want to achieve. I know local media reports suggest that the Randwick Labor Mayor, Dylan Parker, is also in favour of the project, and I would encourage them at the council elections next year to ensure Labor is returned, so they have double the chance of getting this wreck. And then, of course, they've got to find themselves a naval wreck, a naval ship ready to be sunk. That's a big body of work, and really I'm not qualified to talk upon that today, but I will stress the points made by my colleague, the member for Coogee. We were inheriting a huge budget deficit, 187 billion in the forward estimates, the largest debt passed from one government to another. There is a limit to what we can do when we want to attend to the social problems left to us by those opposite. But if the petitioners persist They will succeed, and they're only going to succeed with Dr. Marjorie O'Neill as their local member.
The question is that the House take note of the petition. I call the member for Terrigal.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. And look, I'm absolutely delighted to be able to speak to the petition brought before the House today as the only member of Parliament in New South Wales that has an ex-warship in his electorate. And I am absolutely delighted to be able to congratulate the proponents of this particular petition. Look, I've seen the difficulties of what's put forward when these projects come along, and I want to congratulate the member for Coogee and her predecessor who kick-started this, Bruce Notley-Smith. These are major projects, and I've got to say I'm also delighted it was a former Liberal state government and former Liberal federal government that delivered the ex-HMAS Adelaide to the people of the Central Coast. And what we've seen is an incredible success. Sadly, what we saw was a lot of opposition to the proposal originally, Mr Temporary Speaker, where we had all sorts of spurious claims being made by the No Ships Action Group, who said this was going to be an environmental disaster of epic proportions. And I remember actually being out on the water the day that we sent ex-HMAS Adelaide to the bottom in its position off of Oka Beach. And even that very day, they were still protesting about the environmental disaster the ex-HMAS Adelaide was going to cause the Central Coast coastline and the wider environment. There were no facts to, of course, any of that. And what is ironic, Mr Temporary Speaker, is we fast forward from 2011, and not only has the ex-HMAS Adelaide been the most successful dive site on the East Coast, where more than 15,000 divers have actually dived on the vessel, which was sunk appropriately in the right location, the right place, and taken care of and treated by the Navy prior to its sinking. But we've actually seen pink coral that is now growing on the bow of the ex-HMAS Adelaide. Now, the importance of that, Mr Temporary Speaker, is the fact that the pink coral has actually now become a home to the endangered White's seahorse. So those who oppose this ship, the No Ships Action Group, who literally delayed this process by about 18 months and cost the taxpayer of New South Wales about $8 million in legal fees and then walked away scot-free, this so-called environmental disaster has actually turned out to be an environmental godsend for the people of New South Wales and our environment, because it's now providing a valuable safe haven for the White's seahorse. So again, they come in, complain, and then walk away and take no responsibility. Quite frankly, they should have been billed for the $8 million that it cost the taxpayer of New South Wales in the delay to deliver the ex-HMAS Adelaide. But in addition to that, we've seen the economic benefit, multiplying effect that the ex-HMAS Adelaide has had. And I want to congratulate CARP, which is the Central Coast Artificial Reef Project, headed up by Sue Dengate, who actually spearheaded the delivery of the ex-HMAS Adelaide and her team to the coast off the Central Coast, which has delivered millions of dollars of economic benefit to our region in tourist visitation. It is arguably the most successful artificial dive site anywhere on the East Coast. In addition to that, it also provides valuable homes to marine life. But part of the success of the ex-HMAS Adelaide was the fact that it's also a marine reserve. So what that means is you can't fish on the dive site. What it means is that the site is protected in perpetuity for divers and the environment. We've recently just sunk an artificial fishing reef off Terrigal, which was provided and funded by the former Liberal National Government, $1 million worth of infrastructure. Great piece of infrastructure funded by us. And but that gives a place for people to go and fish. What it also does, it also keeps the protection around the ex-HMAS Adelaide to remain that vital, environmental sensitive centre of sea life development we've got on the Central Coast. And look, what we can see is obviously there's increased fish life, activity, marine life around the ex-HMAS Adelaide. So I would say to the Gardens, I guess Gordons Bay Scuba Club and Diving Club and the proponents, this is an excellent proposal. The ex-HMAS Adelaide has done a wonderful job for our environment. It was a long battle by the CARP proponents of the ex-HMAS Adelaide, sadly opposed by people who knew nothing about the actual delivery of the project. So it is a long battle, but the former state government, the Liberal government, funded the ex-HMAS Adelaide. It's provided millions of dollars worth of economic growth, but more importantly, it's provided incredibly sensitive area of marine ecology here in New South Wales, with that growth of the pink coral on the bow, which provides that home to the endangered white seahorse. So it's been a win-win for not just the local economy, the local divers, the visitors to the beautiful Central Coast, but also to our fragile marine environment. Of course, we've seen that proliferation of marine life now. It's, as I said, all you got to do is look at the video footage, which is live cams. It is a great diving spot. It is 30 metres down, member for Vaucluse, so you want to make sure your diving licence is up to date. But every single day, boats go out from the haven onto this fantastic dive site. So again, I want to congratulate the proponents for their 10,000 signatures. This is a project well worth delivering for New South Wales. I want to call on the state government to fully fund it.
The question is that the House take note of the petition. I call the member for Blue Mountains.
And Mr Speaker, one might ask why the member for the Blue Mountains is standing up here today to support a dive wreck. So I stand proudly here next to my neighbour in this place, the member for Coogee, next to each other here in this Parliament, Coogee and Blue Mountains, and as the Parliamentary Secretary for the Environment and Climate Change, Mr Speaker, to acknowledge the signatories on this petition, calling for the creation of an artificial reef by having an ex-Navy ship scuttled off the Sydney coastline. So thank you to those who put so much effort in pulling together a petition. It's no mean feat. And I just would like to acknowledge some of the, I suppose, the information that the department provides to us as parliamentarians when we're responding to issues that are brought to this parliament by communities, and that is the broad process which takes quite some time. To scuttle a vessel, for those of you in the Blue Mountains who are listening from home, to scuttle a vessel, the broad process is to background investigations, to select a vessel on a site, create a business plan, look at the environmental plan, navigational and operational plan, assuming the activity occurs on Crown land within 3 nautical miles, administrative actions to create a Crown reserve and determine a native title pathway as required, create a governance and administrative structure for the site in perpetuity, and obviously go through a whole series of planning approvals, the environmental assessment, the development consent and potential litigation. Obviously, as the Parliamentary Secretary and somebody who lives within a unique place in this world, in a World Heritage listed national park, I always look at the issue of an environmental assessment in a serious way. And whilst we have heard from other members in this place talk about the great benefits of tourism, talking about the pros and cons of the discussion around such a proposal like this, the ecological and the environmental sustainability, looking at conservation alongside economic returns, it is important to have a look at the examples that we have heard a little bit about in this place already, Mr Speaker. So as we've heard a few of these points, the ex-HMAS Adelaide has become haven for marine life and is a popular tourism spot for scuba diving. I believe the member for Vaucluse is ready to dive 32 metres below the surface of the water, about 1.8 kilometres off Avoca Beach near Terrigal, and come back to report on that exercise in this place as soon as she can. I don't believe for a moment that the member for Terrigal would actually, no, I don't think you'd get through the porthole, mate. Obviously we know that this particular example has attracted divers from all over the world. We know that the support to the tourism sector and the economic outcomes for the Central Coast have been highlighted. And whilst many of the world's top dive sites are hours offshore the HMAS Adelaide, and potentially something near the member for Coogie's electorate would be just a short boat ride from land and provide an easily accessible underwater experience. Mr. Speaker, to the point of looking at what this example provides us in determining this proposal, we see that a thriving marine ecosystem attracts divers. We see that what happens when a new structure is introduced to the marine environment, tiny organisms such as microscopic algae in ocean waters land on the surface and create that first layer of slime, and then layer upon layer of microorganisms slowly settle and create a food source for many more permanent and visiting organisms. So that in turn attracts fish and marine life and becomes home to a rich diversity of marine life. I thank the signatories on this petition and look forward to further discussions.
Well, I thank the member for Blue Mountains. The question is that the House take note of the petition, and I now call the Minister for Skills, TAFE and Tertiary Education, representing the Minister for Natural Resources, in response.
Thanks, Mr Deputy President. Where are we, Speaker? I'm delighted to be able to congratulate the member for Coogee for bringing this petition, and for the community group who worked so hard on the project so far and collected those signatures. It is a really exciting idea. It's not easy, and it's not an instant solution, and as a number of speakers have pointed out, it's also quite expensive. And I have to say right up front that right now the government doesn't have that funding available to do the work. But that's not to say that you shouldn't keep working on things like the business case. Now, I noted the member for Terrigal's speech, and I want to congratulate him because apparently the last Liberal government secured the HMAS Adelaide and sunk it in the record time for 18 days after coming into office. 18 days! It's amazing. The reality of it, of course, is that I was actually the Minister for Fisheries leading up to that for a couple of years, and was involved in some of the work that went on, and that had been going on for about a decade. So it was a long process leading up to it. The member for Terrigal was right in saying there was some opposition to it, and it did go to the courts, and it was tested just to actually test some of those environmental impacts. So we do need to be planned very carefully. There were some concerns, and there is ongoing monitoring of things like the effects of zinc in the paint and lead in paints on those ships. And those are all things that need to be considered. So they are very exciting, and I have to say I was personally quite disappointed that I didn't get to go to the sinking of the actual ship, as we had a change of government, and I was biding my time somewhere else, probably licking my wounds or something like that. But it is a great project. It does attract a lot of people. The Labor government at the time also introduced the artificial reefs up and down New South Wales, funded through the fishing levy, fishing licence fees, fishing trust funds. I was very pleased that the former government continued those. They make an amazing contribution to recreational fishing across the state of New South Wales, and we're continuing that work. But the dive wreck that was put there with HMAS Adelaide is specifically for diving. It creates an amazing environmental benefit, as we've seen. I'd encourage the group to continue. I can't tell them that the government can fund this because you do need to continue to work on things like the business case, on working with the federal government. I noticed the proposal is to get funding from the federal government for it, and bringing back that case with the support that you've indicated for government to consider in the future. I congratulate the member for bringing this petition to the House and the people who did it, and I know that our ministers who are involved, and there is more than one, will look forward to working with her in the future on it.
Well, I thank the Minister. The question is that the House take note of the petition, and I now call the member for Coogee in response.
Thank you, Speaker. And I want to start by, again, acknowledging and thanking the Sydney Gordons Bay Dive Wreck Committee. And it's been said over and over and over again, it is a significant and huge effort to get 10,000 signatures. This is no small feat. So this should be something that you're all incredibly proud of, and you've brought our community together and you've demonstrated there is an issue and there's something that our community wants, not just the eastern suburbs, but across New South Wales, and we hear you. I also want to acknowledge those that have contributed to the petition debate today. The member for Vaucluse, the member for the Entrance, the member for Terrigal, the member for Blue Mountains, the Parliamentary Secretary for the Environment, and the Minister for Skills and the former Minister for Fisheries. And I want to thank them all for their contribution. To the member for Vaucluse, your enthusiasm for this project as well, and I know that together as neighbours we will continue to push this. What has been said, we have inherited $187 billion debt. It's not a no, it's just a not yet, and we're going to keep chipping away at it. And you're supportive of these principles, which is great to hear, which is about economic development intertwined with environmental conservation, and that's really at the core of the principles of what we're seeing here today. To the member for the Entrance, this is it. This is how governments get good ideas. People, our communities come forward and they pitch it, so this is what they're here. To the member for Terrigal for sharing your experience as fact-checked as it needed to be. And to the former Minister for Fisheries as well, for the insights that you have had. This isn't just as simple. These are really long processes that go through, but you also pointed out there are ongoing environmental tests that continue to be done. When we do these things, we need to make sure we do it right.
Well, I thank the member for Coogee. I will also welcome the members in the gallery. I hope you know how to scuba dive, or at least train, because we've heard a lot of people here who now want to learn. Okay, welcome. Okay, the question is that the House take note of the petition. All of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The debate on the 10,000 signature paper on the creation of an artificial reef by having an ex-Navy ship scuttled off the Sydney coastline having concluded. I thank obviously the guests in the gallery, but all those who I'm sure watching online and have listened to the debate.